The Parkersburg South Patriots hosted the Spring Valley Timberwolves this afternoon. First inning, Easton Walker on the mound forcing a 4-6-3 double play for the first 2 outs of the game. A couple batters later, with the man in scoring position, Parker Phillips, he's going to fly one out and it's going to fall into left field, and that pushed across the first run of the game. Now with the man on second, we're going to leave him stranded as Jake Vandersdale gets the check swing strikeout. Now in the top of the second, Walker fielding his position with the quick reactions, and he's going to get the easy toss for the first out. A couple batters later now, the lefty gets out of the inning unscathed with the punch out looking. Third inning, Jake Shoemaker, he's going to slice one, and it's going to get through the first baseman as he's charged with the error. After finding his way into scoring position, an error throw back to the pitcher is going to allow the second run of the game to score for the Timberwolves. But unfazed on the mound is Easton Walker. He's going to get the strikeout here to limit the damage, but it wouldn't be enough as Spring Valley shuts out the South Patriots and win 5-0.